Hi everyone. Welcome back to Woo Can Cook. My name is Wesley, and this is a show where we are slowly cooking our way through all of the food from my childhood. Today we're diving back into our series dedicated to classic Japanese dishes with a shot at a Japanese savory pancake known as Okonomiyaki. Though you may find that savory pancakes appear all throughout Pan-Asian cuisine, such as the Korean kimchi pancake or the Taiwanese scallion pancake, Okonomiyaki stands apart because of its inclusion of a dried and smoked tuna fish shaving known as katsuobushi or bonito flake. This, as you might imagine, gives the dish a smoky and fishy umami forward quality that is very much in line with pretty much all of the Japanese cuisine that you've probably come across. Unlike many of its contemporaries though, our pancake today will be assembled into a batter rather than a dough ball, making use of the tuber known as nagaimo or sometimes mountain yam or Chinese yam to yield a slimy and sticky texture which is absolutely unlike any other yam that I personally have come across. These yams are pretty weird, y'all. In addition to this, the okonomiyaki is also iconically fried on top of a bed of pork belly or bacon strips to give the dish that classic cooked in bacon fat feel that we all want in our pancakes. Okay, so let's get into it.
Every time that I try to write this song, every time I end up a little bit more lost.
Okay, so kicking things off here first, we're starting off with the batter of our pancake, which is going to begin with a series of sliced veggies. First up, this is about 1/4 of a head of Taiwanese cabbage, though I frequently sub this with plain old Napa cabbage too. As with most recipes featuring cabbage, it mainly will be serving as a filler veggie to our pancake, serving more use for its texture rather than its flavor. Next up, I'm also pairing about 4 green onions with my cabbage as well, beginning with the whites sliced thinly, then tossed into our bowl for our batter. Then I'm taking these leafy greens, slicing them up thinly as well, and setting aside for our very elaborate finishing garnish coming up. Moving on, next up is the main event. This is our mountain yam here, which I'm making use of about 6 ounces worth, peeled, then grated into our batter. Now, it may not appear like it because the exterior of our yam is fairly dry at first, but once we start grating this thing, it's going to start releasing its liquid inside, yielding a slimy, sticky texture that is, lovely. Anyway, the point is, this is going to be mixed into our batter in a moment, so the sailor-like quality of our tuber is not nearly as important as the bonito flake that I'm adding in next, which is very smoky and umami forward. I went with about 1/4 of an ounce for my own attempt here, although I also thought that it was a little bit heavy on the bonito for my taste, so I may recommend using a touch less for your own attempts. Next up, this is some pickled sushi ginger that I happen to have on hand, although red ginger would probably be more ideal. Followed by a single cup each of AP flour and dashi stock going in. Finally, rounding this all out are 4 eggs, which you should definitely crack before you start mixing things up with your hands, followed by a pinch of kosher salt, and then we're giving this all a toss until a loose batter forms. As promised, you may notice not a single sign of slimy texture showing up once our batter has been combined. Next up, in a separate bowl, I'm assembling a quick okonomiyaki sauce here. You can pretty easily find this stuff in the store, although if you forget to pick it up like I did, we can also pretty easily assemble this ourselves too. This is 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of soy sauce to start, followed by 2 tablespoons each of oyster sauce and good old-fashioned ketchup, the latter of which, as always, is a sign that we are venturing into the world of expat-influenced Japanese cuisine today. Finally, rounding this all out is a single tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and 2 tablespoons of honey, which we're mixing to combine, then adding to a squeeze bottle. Over on the stove, I have a cold cast iron skillet awaiting, where I'm layering in 4 strips of pork belly or bacon, followed by about half of our batter. Then I'm setting my pan at medium heat and letting it gradually come up to temperature so that we may render out the fat of our bacon, like so. We're letting our pancake fry in that fat for about 2 minutes before spooning out some of its excess so that we may flip the whole thing over using a plate, revealing our nice crispy bacon strips underneath. I'm adding this back to the pan along with a few spoonfuls of my bacon fat, then letting it fry for an additional 2 minutes before removing from heat. Back over on the cutting board, as promised, we're finishing this dish with a whopping 5 different garnishes. First up is our zigzag patterns. This is some Kewpie mayo to start, followed by our okonomiyaki sauce next. Then these are our reserved greens of our green onions, followed by a pinch of extra bonito flake on top. Then last up, this is a few more pieces of our pickled ginger to round everything off, and we're ready to eat. Okay, so I mentioned this from the beginning, but absolutely by far the most distinguishable ingredient in this dish is the katsuobushi or bonito flake, which gives off a smoky and fishy umami quality to it that absolutely defines this dish, which I love. Because of this though, I might also say that katsuobushi is pretty easily overdone and can quickly take over the palate of an entire dish if you're not careful. So definitely go easy on this stuff or you literally won't even be able to taste the bacon, which is pretty crazy. In addition to this, I also thought our mountain yam worked really nicely with our egg and cabbage to create a dense but soft and chewy texture that pairs really well with the layer of bacon, sort of like a really big bizarro world laki. Then our Kewpie and okonomiyaki sauce mix well together on the plate to yield a creamy, salty, and savory finish that just perfectly ties everything together. Finally, I'll also mention that this whole dish was also fairly quick to assemble too, so if you're looking for something different to try for your next brunch party, I think this whole thing took maybe 20 to 30 minutes to throw together. Okay, so that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you give this one a shot. For those who are new to the channel, this one is part of a larger series that's dedicated to Japanese classic dishes, so definitely check out that series next if you haven't yet because there's a lot of these. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, be nice interneters, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
And tell me, do you ever feel